This is Huntley, my 12-year-old golden retriever. He's just celebrated his 12th birthday. Honestly, it's a birthday we never ever thought he'd get to. In the last few months, he's been through a hell. He was 2 hours from being euthanized. He couldn't get up. He couldn't hold himself up to go to the bathroom. He didn't go to the bathroom for 4 days, either end. And we were advised by our vet that that was a real quality of life issue and he was going to be put to sleep. But I'm happy to tell you that Huntley's obviously come back. He looks great, and I want to tell you his story about how he's got over the last few months and is now thriving. Huntley's had a great life. Huntley is 12 years old. He's a senior golden retriever. He's, not been without his health problems over the years, but, worst of which is that he has very bad arthritis. We've known that for years. He's on an injectable called Adequan that we do ourselves twice a week. It's brilliant, but you can't fight nature. In the last year or so, it's been really difficult for Huntley, really difficult to get up. In fact, for a few months, he couldn't get up. Huntley lost his sister, so he was also heartbroken like we were. And Huntley really gave up trying to fight to survive anymore. He stopped eating, he stopped trying to get up, and it got to a stage where he lost 20 pounds in weight, he lost all of his muscle. Even if he wanted to, he couldn't get up by himself. He lived in a harness full time. We would hold him up by his harness to get him off the floor, to take him to the bathroom, to take him, we had to carry him up and down the stairs. And Huntley gave up. He was very sad, stopped eating, and we thought it was the end. We were literally desperate.
Hey, bud. When I first met Huntley, he was vibrant. He had excellent energy. He was happy to see me, like any golden retriever that comes to my hospital. And shortly thereafter, his arthritis progressed, and it progressed over several months to the point where it was incredibly difficult for him to walk, and it progressed even further to the point where he couldn't even stand at all. He was having trouble posturing to go to the bathroom, and it was nearly impossible for him to perform any normal movement without severe pain. So there came a time where his quality of life had diminished so much that we were actually thinking, is this the time that we need to lay him to rest while he's got dignity and before this progresses to the point where he's really suffering? And at that point, we made the decision to get him into physical therapy. And this was our last ditch effort to restore his quality of life from this dog that, again, initially was so vibrant, had suddenly really lost the ability to walk and do normal dog things. And we made that decision to get him into physical therapy so that he could start getting the massage, the acupuncture, and the other modalities of pain relief and treatments to reduce inflammation associated with his advanced arthritis.
While Huntley was going through his stage of not being able to go to the bathroom for a few days, I was in constant contact with Dr. McEverly, who was the same veterinarian that had laid Giselle to rest just a few weeks before, Huntley's sister. And Huntley managed to get through that, thankfully. He escaped by the skin of his teeth. So I took Huntley to see Dr. McEverly, who asked me if I'd thought about doing physical therapy for Huntley. Now at this stage, Huntley was in his harness, he couldn't walk, he couldn't get up, he had no quality of life. Honestly, I thought physical therapy was kind of a bit of a fad, acupuncture and nonsense like that. But Huntley's insured, he's been insured since he was a baby. I checked our plan and turned out physical therapy was covered, and I'd get 90% of what I spent back. So I arranged immediately to go and see the physical therapist that was about half an hour away from my house, and I took Huntley there the next day.
So first thing I remember about Huntley when he came in was that he really was struggling. He couldn't walk. He needed max assist. We call max assist, meaning it takes maybe more than one person sometimes to actually get the dog in the door. Couldn't stand for very long, needed to take a lot of rest breaks. We fit him with this harness great harness called a Help 'em Up harness. Has a front end and a back end, and it has handles, so you can really help the dog move forward. And we use that a lot in rehab as well. And I saw the owners in some distress just because they really weren't sure what was going to come next, and here they are going to do physical therapy and treatments on their dog and not sure if it was going to work. But the love they have for this dog was it's worth it, so they were going to give it a try. So we did an initial evaluation on him, and we assessed him looking at his gait, how he was able to walk, if he was able to get up from the floor, overall generally looking at muscle mass, like muscle girth, strength in general of his core, of all of his limbs, and checked him neurologically to see if he was having any neurologic deficits, orthopedic issues. We noticed that he had a lot of weakness in his back leg specifically. He had lost a lot of muscle mass. So we took all of those measurements and those findings, and we put them all together to try to come up with a treatment plan as how we felt we could help Huntley.
Physical therapy is an excellent way to bridge Eastern and Western medicine. And in a case like Huntley, he had essentially been maxed out on non-steroidal anti-inflammatories, pain relief, and the other Western aspects of medicine that I could truly offer him. Physical therapy kind of opened up the pathway to Eastern medicine. Acupuncture, for example, is excellent. Most people think of it as just little needles going up and down along the spine, but these little needles actually stimulate the nervous system and help stimulate positive inflammation. This inflammation actually clears the body of toxins and is a greater anti-inflammatory, especially when used with conventional Western medicine.
So the treatment plan we came up with for Huntley, which is similar for a lot of the dogs that we see, we start off with physical therapy and with acupuncture. And the purpose behind those things, acupuncture can help reduce pain. From a neurological standpoint, it can help reconnect the pathways between his brain and his back end along his spinal cord. And the physical therapy is like physical therapy is for people. So we're going to be working on, areas where he's lacking strength, maybe core strength, maybe front leg strength or hind limb strength. As well as trying to decrease inflammation and reduce pain and help with all the soft tissue areas that maybe have been making some tightness because of compensatory movements that he's been doing. When his back legs were weaker, he was trying to pull a lot with his front limbs, so he was getting really tight in his neck and his shoulders. So we did some laser treatments, so cold laser therapy will help with decreasing inflammation and reducing pain. We did a lot of soft tissue work with our hands. We actually have physical therapists that are licensed physical therapists, certified in canine rehab, and they actually, their hands are what they use to treat. So, we'll feel areas of tightness and trigger points, and we'll do treatments to, release those trigger points, make them feel better. We did a lot of postural movements with him, so getting him into positions where he was actually in weight bearing. So sometimes these dogs, when they can't move very well, they'll lay down and their back legs will be splayed out straight and they can't get their back legs up underneath them. So we did a lot of work with him in a position called sternal, where his front legs are like this, maybe looking like a sphinx. His back legs are underneath him, because if he was going to be able to get up at some point, you need to have your legs underneath you in order to do so. So we would do some work with him in that sternal position. We would use the harnesses to kind of help guide him up. We baited him with treats or whatever it was that we could use to get him to get up. And once we would get him up and standing, we would work with him in standing. So we would work on his proprioception. So we would flip one of his feet over, put our little finger between his toes, and see if he could flip it back. Proprioception means that his brain knows that when he's on his foot, the top of his foot, he shouldn't be that way. And so his brain would say, that's not right, let me flip it back. A lot of dogs with neurological issues aren't aware, so you'll see them standing on the top of their foot, or what we call knuckling. So we did a lot of that. We had his owners doing a lot of that stuff as well. We put him over a peanut roll, a big peanut roll. So we would put him over it and then roll him forward so that he'd put his front feet down and weight bear, and then roll him back so he'd put his back feet down and weight bear. So we did a lot of stuff where we were supporting him into normal positions like standing. And as he got a little bit better and was able to stay up a little bit more and starting to walk a little bit more with less assistance, we ultimately got him into the underwater treadmill. The underwater treadmill is great for dogs like him because the buoyancy helps hold him up. So he doesn't have to worry about holding himself up because the water's holding him up. And then he's able to walk on a treadmill. It's a big tank and it has a treadmill in the bottom and the water comes up from underneath. And then he can start patterning and walking. Some dogs like him, we start off where we support them with a harness. So we have some supports from the ceiling that kind of help him up. We thought if he needed to take a break because he was still fairly weak in terms of endurance, that we would dump all the water in between sets and let him lay down if need be. So he ended up doing really, really well in the water, and I think it was a really great treatment to help him build up his strength again and build up his endurance.
There has been a physical cost to get Huntley back to where he is, and I've calculated Huntley's been going to physical therapy now for over 5 months, twice a week, and it cost me almost $400 a week. And Huntley spent around $8,500 in the last few months on physical therapy. That's expensive. That's an awful lot of money to most of us. Thankfully, Huntley's insured and I get 90% of it back. It's hard enough when you've got the mental torture of losing your dog, and then you add the financial side of it, it's crushing. To have no worries about the financial side of it because he's insured, I can't tell you the relief that we have. When I was given the suggestion by the physical therapist that Huntley coming in twice a week, I had no qualms about that because it's costing me just 10% of the cost. I spend $40 a week. The insurance company pays the other $360. That's, it's amazing. It's a miracle. Huntley's insurance, he's a senior dog, so his insurance is expensive. I pay, I think, about $170 a month for him. But already in the last few months, I've had $8,500 back this year. So, anyone that's got a senior dog, anything can happen. This is Huntley's story, and, he's only here because of the care and professionalism of the teams that we work with, and because we could afford to pay for his care because we have pet insurance. Honey, really? Come on, let's go. Come on. Good boy, Huntley. Good boy. Good boy, Huntley.
It's really been great for us to see Huntley's progress and how well he's done. We always believe that we can make a dog better, so he's just another example of that happening. Coming from where, walking 10 feet, he had to take 3 rest breaks, literally, to get from, our scale and then into our gym area. It's not very far, and he needed to take 3 rest breaks, to now knowing that he's running on the beach and walking 1.5 miles and all that is, it's amazing, and we love doing this for these animals, but we also are doing it because we know how much it means to the owners, and seeing the difference from when the owners first brought him in to how they feel about him now, it makes us so happy and so glad to be here to be able to do this for the pets and for their owners. So going on long term for him, a lot of it depends on how much the owners are willing to do with their pet at home. When we do our initial evaluation, we give them a home exercise program. So yeah, we give them homework and say, look, you're bringing your dog in maybe twice a week. In Huntley's case, he was here twice a week. And we gave the owners a bunch of stuff to do on all those other days of the week. And so they were really diligent in doing their program, and it's no different than in the human world of PT. They give you exercises, and if you do them, you get better. If you don't, sometimes you don't. Same thing with the pets. So when the owners are really, really diligent about doing all their exercises and following up with that, they can maybe cut back on coming not as frequently. So Huntley's been coming twice a week. He could probably go down to once a week because he's so much more active now, and he's able to do all these things, and the owners are still really, really dedicated to him in terms of, you know, doing their home program still and keeping it going. So, you know, we do have a lot of dogs that just keep coming for a maintenance, and part of it is because I think they're afraid that if they stop coming that the dog is going to kind of regress. But I always tell them, we're here, we're not going anywhere. So if you start to see a little bit of setback, just come back and we'll get him back on track. So that's Huntley's story, and we're proud of him.
Compared to where he was at the start, I started getting little videos from the owner of first walking, and then suddenly he's kind of loping along the beach. And as a veterinarian who, you know, in the beginning of this journey was considering his quality of life and is this the time to say goodbye, I'm so grateful that we had the opportunity to do everything possible, get him into physical therapy, and now this dog just walked up the stairs with me so that we could record together. And so getting to see his progress, it's been miraculous, it's been incredibly inspiring, and it's for me very motivating to continue to recommend physical therapy for all the patients that could really benefit from it.
Having lost Huntley's sister, Giselle, a few weeks before, the idea of losing Huntley as well ripped me to pieces. It was beyond anything I could imagine. So to have him here now, you know, a few months later, and he's thriving, is nothing short of a miracle. You know, I now think in terms of Huntley as I think in 6-month increments. You can never see the future. He is 12 years old, he is a golden retriever, they do suffer from more than their fair share of things, but he's here, he's thriving, he's doing great, he wants to be part of our family, he wants to be with us, he's eating again, he's taking part in everything we do. And like I say, I think long term with him now, I literally can't imagine having those thoughts a few months ago when he was unable to do literally anything. But look at him, he's 12 years old, he was on the floor almost dead, and now look at him, he can walk around, he can run around, he can walk 1.5 miles. This is a miracle. I literally couldn't be happier. This is the best investment of my time and money I could ever make.